this is as far as my model of Thanos goes. To start off with, I wanted to show off this neck joint, which is pretty cool. It's the standard double joint I've been using for years, except I added a lever between each pivot, which is one short tube that slides inside another. Normally you get just 2 points of movement, here at the top, then at the bottom. This allows the chin to tuck in when looking up, creating a more natural look without leaving an acre of space. It also makes looking down easier, as you can create an acre of space for the chin to move into. This is the standard I've been using for years and it works really well, but Thanos has an additional option. You can twist the neck joint so the bottom pin is the opposite direction to the top one, allowing the head to tilt as well. This is huge. There's a lot of communication done with just slight head movements alone, and this additional joint doubles my options for Thanos to express himself when I'm animating him. And a small head movement is not hard, just 4 or 5 photos looped back and forth. It takes like 10 minutes to shoot. Unlike walking, for example, which is a whole other level. Notice how I usually skip that part? So this neck joint alone, along with the beautiful face sculpt, makes me love this model. Otherwise, that's all there is to say really. He's 30.6 centimeters tall, had to buy a longer ruler for this guy, which would make him 245 centimeters in full size, or just over 8 feet tall. Big boy. He has the standard articulation, very solid joints because they're so thick, a relatively thin waist joint leaving large gaps for the mass to move into. He has a fully articulated Infinity Gauntlet with 2 bends at each finger and an extra thumb joint with a standard bend at the wrist and even a chopping motion. Can you believe it? Also with removable Infinity Stones to replicate the different stages throughout the films. Show me another figure that does that. I'll wait. This is nearly 3 years old and I still couldn't do this better today. I love this thing. It is a near perfect Infinity Gauntlet combined with a perfect head sculpt, and it is it's a great model. I like it. And that's it. Otherwise, I'm done with this model. No need to work any further on it. There were 4 main reasons I wanted to make Thanos, and this model as it is captures all of them. Number 1, I wanted to sculpt his brilliantly designed face. 2, I wanted to color his gorgeous purple skin. 3, I wanted to capture his overwhelming stature. And 4, I wanted to make that glorious golden garden glove. But other than that, the effort required to make anything else just isn't worth it to me. And as I've already shown, unnecessary, since I can still use him for animation just fine. I do wish I colored the frame for his legs though, then most of you probably wouldn't even notice they're not finished. Oh yeah, and I never gave him a right hand. I've just had these fingertips laying around for 2 years. Oh well, that's regrettable. But you might still be asking, why not just finish the shoulders at least? You're so close. Well, there's a reason for that. His shoulders suck. The way I've been designing shoulder joints causes a lot of problems, particularly with characters that have this kind of mass. The pivot is placed at the top of the mass, just at the edge of where the clavicle would be and where the arm bone moves, so it is anatomically accurate. And doing things this way does create a fairly seamless joint, well hidden between the anatomy, that you might not even know is there. And it also allows for a realistic extension and full range of motion for the lateral deltoid. And this is what I've been using. Like, look at Goku here. You wouldn't even be able to tell his arms can move this far. And it doesn't compromise the sculpt whatsoever. The problem comes when his arm moves forward or back. What I've realized since then is just how much all of the muscles surrounding the shoulder overlap each other, and how much of a pain simple back and forward rotation is when you've got traps up to your ears and pecs out to your elbows like half the characters I make do. The old method looks good in a neutral position and it's sculpted that way, and even when extending laterally it's very solid, but when moving forward, well, let's take a look at Goku again, and oh no. Not only does the front deltoid bump into the traps, but look at all this vacant space below the deltoid and behind it. There's these big holes and gaps in him, and this is a problem that is only magnified with extremely muscular characters like Thanos. And you can be damn sure if I built his traps, it would be the same problem, but twice as bad. Skinny characters are no problem. There's no real noticeable overlap of the traps, deltoids, and pecs, and any character wearing a jacket or clothes, you can just alter the sculpt. It doesn't have to be anatomically accurate. But on Goku, Venom, Katakuri, and especially Thanos, it's a big, big flaw. But I do have a new method. When it comes to the shoulders here, circles are going to be your best friend, the favored shape. As long as you get the pin not at the top of the shoulder, but as close to the middle as possible, you'll have a smooth rotation that doesn't leave any gaps. Literally like a wheel spinning. What I've been doing this whole time basically is having the axis for the wheel be off center. So of course it's going to bump into its surroundings. And then also the shape of the deltoid from the structure pieces, like you can see here with Whitebeard, this also has to be like a perfectly smooth circle as well. So the mass of the deltoid follows this circular shape and it is consistent all the way around no matter where it rotates. So doing it this way, the sculpt will hold in all arm positions. The only drawback of doing it this way is you have to leave a pretty high gap above the joint for the actual shoulder to move into when it extends laterally. But if you make a character with big enough traps like friggin' Whitebeard's gonna have here and like Thanos would have, then that can almost cover that gap completely. And you don't quite get as full a range of motion on the lateral deltoid, so doing the joint this way is not as good for the lateral deltoid, but it is so much better for forward and backward rotation, which is a far more essential movement for the shoulder to do, I think. So it's really just going to be choosing what type of joint you want to use. But this new method as demonstrated here is going to be much more consistent with the sculpt. It's not going to break the sculpt. I'm going to be able to have accurate anatomy here. And you're still going to have an impressive amount of motion on something that probably won't even look like it moves at all. So very, very good. So basically, Thanos' shoulders are too bulky when they rotate up. Like look at how much mass is shifting up here. So if I built the traps, it just doesn't work. So I'd have to redo his whole upper body, including the pin structure, that like everything, the next, it's just not worth it. I'm fine with him just looking like this for the rest of his lifespan. That's fine. I'm not about to redo Thanos' whole upper body. I'm not even that hot on Marvel nowadays. So yeah. He died 2 years ago, guys. Probably never going to see him again on the big screen. Regardless, though, the face is still ridiculously good. Like, look at those lips. He has sculpted lips with paper. Unbelievable. And that Infinity Gauntlet with the removable stones. Mwah. Chef's kiss. Who thinks of this stuff? As far as I'm concerned, the rest of his body is just an articulated display stand for these two masterpieces of paper sculpture. And I'm happy with that. Okay, this has been my Thanos paper model. Thank you for watching and comment your thoughts below. Check out Patreon for drawings and behind the scenes, thumbnails, video scripts, subscribe, like, dislike, whatever. I'll see you next time.